Donald Trump is getting a rude awakening from all places in Florida. Yes, what's become a ruby red state in Florida, they are livid and pissed at Donald Trump. They're looking at double-digit increases on insurance, home insurance, car insurance, double-digit increases in utility bills. And all their politicians want to talk about is, oh, woke this, woke that, this bathroom, that bathroom. Let me show you what's going down in Florida, Central Florida, Southern Florida. Let's take a look right here. As a result of this government shutdown, we're seeing food pantries surging in need as people in Florida are going starving in the United States as a result of this Trump regime. Here, play this clip.
I'm your Osceola County community correspondent, Laverne McGee in Kissimmee, at a food pantry where they have everything from beans and cereal and also soup. And they say the demand is so great right now, especially now that we're seeing government workers who are not sure whether or not they're going to get paid.
I don't have no milk in my house and cereal. I'm like, it's touching me. It's touching me right now. I'm so sorry.
Service technician Laudelino Morales has been out of work for weeks. As he looks for a job, the food bank at the Church and Community Assistance Program is a lifeline.
It's really tough right now in these days, especially, like I said, the holidays around the corner. You know, you don't know if you're going to have Thanksgiving or not.
As the food bank works to keep Morales and his family fed, it's preparing for even more hungry mouths to feed. Government workers will miss their first paycheck this week.
I'm talking about police officers. I'm talking about government people, teachers.
Olga Gonzalez is the former mayor of Kissimmee. She founded this nonprofit back in 1999.
This shutdown, I don't think it was called for because they know people are hurting because of this shutdown.
Across the state, there are nearly 95,000 federal workers who've been furloughed or are working without pay. As bills pile up, Olga hopes the food bank can help bridge the gap.
And it's not a handout, it's a hand up. So I let people know, don't feel bad because you're coming to get a box of food. You need to survive. And we're here to help you survive.
It really hurts. It really hits down. But, you know, we got to thank you, Jesus, and keep forward.
Your Osceola County community correspondent, Laverne McGee, News 6.
And, you know, people who are going to grocery stores, people who are out there buying things, if they can afford them even, are saying, as a result of Donald Trump's tariffs, prices have increased dramatically. Watch this report right here. Let's play it.
I'm Stephanie Rodriguez reporting in Seminole County. There are signs that the most recent tariffs put into place on imported goods could lead to a rise in costs at the grocery store on some of your favorite items like canned goods, fruits, and coffee.
Okay, and I can tell you the prices have gone up.
Gail Kent tells me she's noticed a steep increase at checkout.
Like I just got Parmesan cheese. It was $12.99 and now it's $16.99.
And she's not the only one seeing the rise, as the high cost of groceries is straining many people's wallets. A recent poll shows 53% of Americans say grocery costs were a, quote, major stress.
Well, I think it's really sad for people who really can't afford it.
And it could continue to impact consumers, as economists warn the latest round of tariffs might drive up prices even further. Some imports coming from Brazil will now face a 50% tariff, which means we'll likely see some coffee, sugarcane, and meat go up in price.
Obviously, it's noticeable on the price difference, but it's kind of hard to say where everything's increasing. But, I mean, as far as even the champagne, it's up $1 or $2, so it just doesn't stop.
For Zach Stewart, an increase at the register has him reconsidering what he eats day to day.
For me, cooking-wise, may not always be the best option anymore if the prices keep going up. I may have to consider eating out more often, just because I live by myself.
Aluminum goods from Canada are subject to a 35% tariff, which could mean higher costs for certain drinks and canned goods.
They don't understand that tariffs are paid by the consumer, okay? The companies pay it, but then they pass on the costs.
The Census Bureau reports that American businesses are also importing less amid the higher tariffs. That's another thing making it more expensive to buy those foreign-produced goods. Reporting in Seminole County, Stephanie Rodriguez, News 6.
And by the way, even Donald Trump's own MAGA sycophant board member of the Federal Reserve, the person Trump just handpicked, this guy, Stephen Moran, he just gave an interview and he said, yeah, it's pretty bad. pretty bad. This is the Trump MAGA guy. Listen to what he has to say. Here, play this clip.
Yes, the labor market continued to weaken in the first half of this year. I think that part of that was due to uncertainty over policy. We might have had the biggest tax hike in history, and so maybe there were firms holding off on investing until the tax bill was done. And we also had the biggest rearrangement to global trading policy in half a century. And so while those deals were being negotiated and people were waiting to see where tariff rates would shake out, it wouldn't be surprising to me if they held off on making some decisions. So I do think that uncertainty is a potentially helps explain some of the weakness we saw in the first half of the year. And then really until last week, I'd been operating under the assumption that a lot of that uncertainty had dissipated. The tax bill had become law, and trade deals had been made for most of our large trading partners. And then, last week, China decided that the deals that had been made earlier in the year in Geneva, London, and Madrid no longer bound them. And so I had been operating under the assumption that the uncertainty had dissipated, and that therefore I felt more sanguine about some aspects of the growth outlook. And now potentially this is back because the Chinese are reneging on deals that were earlier made. And so I think it's incumbent upon us as policymakers to think about the introduction of a new tail risk. And the tail, the left tail has become a little fatter, as we might say. And we have to recognize that, there potentially is some difference now versus where we thought things were a week ago. And therefore adjust policymaking.
Downside risks to growth.
There's now more downside risks than there was a week ago, and I think it's incumbent upon us as policymakers to recognize that should get reflected in policy.
So is Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans in for a rude awakening in Florida with double-digit spikes on utility bills, with double-digit spikes in home insurance, with double-digit spikes in car insurance, with grocery prices through the roof? Florida's pissed. Florida's pissed at what's going on. I know here at the MeidasTouch Network, you know us for focusing on governor's races and Senate races and congressional races, but I think it's also our duty here to focus on state house races and local legislative races, because as we've seen, MAGA Republicans have been able to kind of exploit the lack of attention being paid to those races, seize control, and try to rig midterms, rig electoral maps, and generally put forward sometimes even more dangerous MAGA agendas that even exist at the federal level, if that's even possible. So I want to bring in Dan McDow. Dan McDow is running for the House seat, House District 33. That's going to come up right around the time of the midterm elections. House District 33 is in Brevard County. Dan used to be the chair of the Brevard County Democratic Executive Committee. You've been long involved in local politics. And the person who currently holds that House District 33 seat is a lady by the name of Monique Miller, a Moms for Liberty person, a far right-wing MAGA person pushing extreme ideology and not focusing on these kitchen sink issues that are affecting the people of Florida. So, Dan, it's an honor to have you here. And just by way of reference, so people know, Brevard, that's Kennedy Space Center County. That's Space County right there where the Kennedy Space Center is. So great to have you here. I want to talk about your race, but I want to hear from you about what you see people in Florida talking about. I know your opponent, I like to say that MAGAs are the pee-pee and poo-poo police. They love talking about bathrooms. They love talking about culture wars. But I feel like right now with where the economy is at, people, they think they want to talk about the economy and kitchen table issues.
Excellent. Well, listen, thank you, Ben, for having me on, and I appreciate it very much. And it's I couldn't have said it any better than what you've described it. We are dealing with, as the chair of the Brevard Dems, I went out and surveyed the land several times, and every time it came up as the economy, the economy, the economy. And so there's a lot of attention as to what's going on. And we look at the State House and say, well, okay, they just renegotiated and they're telling us they did a great job. Yes, we appreciate it. They lowered our costs by 6.5%. But guess what? We already have 22% higher. So we don't net out very much. You know, it's kind of like one of those things that's only going to hurt a little. Well, that's what we're addressing here is it's not good enough. It's a good start, but let's build on this. You know, Bad bills is what we're noted for here in Florida, and they've written, a whole slew of them, as you had mentioned. They go after the LGBTQ, after book banning, after teachers. They're anti-woke, anti-labor. They just wrote bills last year to put allowing kids to work these crazy, ridiculous hours at 16 years old. They just don't have their priorities right, and we hope to be disruptive. We want to flip this seat.
During the last election, we heard price of eggs, price of eggs, price of eggs. All I know here in California, jar of mayo. I mean, beef. I mean, you go look around here, and I'm sure lots of people have this experience. You'll go to the supermarket register, you start looking as they beep, 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 and the beep, beep, beep. You know what it starts sounding like? The hospital. Beep,
Yep.
beep, beep, and I'm like, and I'm sure people have like, no, I don't want that. I don't want that. I don't want that. But, you look at it. So I imagine it's from what I'm hearing, it's even worse in Florida.
Well, and the thing is, the thing that we're dealing with here is that we not only have I surveyed, but I belong to the Prosperity Initiative, which is a group of individuals through the Florida Chamber of Commerce that has monitored the paycheck to paycheck, basically, seeing how people live. And we went from 30% just 5 years ago to now 49% of our county lives paycheck to paycheck. That's powerful. And there's, that you can't deny that. Something's going on here. We see more kids in poverty this year than we did in 2 years ago. And guess what? We don't have much organic growth here in Brevard. We've got a lot of seniors coming in, but not too much organic growth.
You think you can win this race? I mean, what we've seen, and we've covered it in Nebraska, we've covered it in Pennsylvania, we've covered it in Iowa. In these state seats, 20-point swings in ruby red areas going towards Democrats. This was kind of an 11-point plus 11 for Monique, and
Right.
now it looks more like a plus 4. But we've seen this story before in these elections, and then on election day, the voters are like, could we stop just freaking talking about woke and bathrooms? And I actually want a candidate who's speaking about the roads and grocery prices and the issue and healthcare and issues that matter to me. So, it's why I want to highlight this race, because I think there's a shot. Obviously, you're putting your hand in the race, or hat in the race, or whatever the expression is, because you think there's a shot. So what do you think? What's your path to victory here?
No, absolutely. I believe in this very strongly, that we can flip this seat. I want to be able to focus on making sure that I have a track record, even as a council. And you have a track record, and I have 4 years of straight reducing the property taxes here in my city. So I am fiscally responsible, and I think we need to bring jobs into this area that have not good paying jobs. We've got a lot of engineers coming in for NASA, and that kind of skews our numbers. But we need to real jobs that pay a decent living. That's probably the number one issue that I'm going to be working on, is working with the Economic Development Commission and bringing those jobs here locally.
Dan, where can people find out more about the campaign if they want to learn about you? Anywhere you suggest that they go to research more about you?
Sure. Website's Dan McDow, spell it out, FL.com. So Dan McDow, FORFL.com.
Dan McDow running for that House 33 district seat. Great to have you, Dan, and great to highlight the work of what's happening at the legislative level, because we see more than ever right now. It's important, and I urge all of our listeners and followers to focus also on local races, state races, town races, boards, school boards, and all of that, and to get involved, right? I mean, just speak to, before we go, get involved, right? I mean, you worked in healthcare before, and you just said, look, I got to get involved. I got to do something.
Yeah, it's time to give back. We cannot be silent. This is not the time to be silent. We need to be big and bold. And I'll tell you, being louder doesn't make you a leader either. So let's be effective in what we do. Let's do it peacefully, but let's make sure that we're heard. Our message needs to be heard.
Everybody hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million subscribers. Dan McDow, everybody. Thanks, Dan.
All right. Thank you, Ben.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.